Happy hump day, beautiful people. So my message today comes from Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 to 30, and that's talking about the wheat and the weeds. How I chose this is because me and my kids, we went and walked around the lake, and while we were doing that, some guys that worked, they were pulling out weeds around the lake. And of course, my son, he loves to get involved in just different things, anything that he can, honestly. So he asked to help, or he just started helping, honestly. And I was like, wow, so cute. But anyway, that brought me to thinking about this passage. Now, also, before I started recording this message, I saw a beautiful orange butterfly. Beautiful. So I'll be reading it, and I'll break it down as I'm going through it. Here's another story Jesus told. The kingdom of heaven is like a farmer who planted good seed in his field. But that night, as the workers slept, my bad, y'all, it's super windy today. But that night, as the workers slept, his enemy came and planted weeds among the wheat, then slipped away. When we have an idea, when we know our purpose, when we are going forth to birth something, we are inputting good things. Also, when we are just looking to grow, we are inputting good things and good practices and habits spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. But the enemy can come to us in a number of ways to plant weeds into what it is that we have going on. Whether that's a whisper to go and get some cake, or whether that's you watching something that subconsciously tempts you to go drink and sin, or whether that's the music that we listen to subconsciously affecting our actions. And this could even be, like it says, while the farmer was asleep, the enemy came and planted the weeds, right? So those of y'all know about witchcraft attacks and different black magic and stuff like that, they usually do those things at night when they know that you're asleep, or like when they know that you have something going on. That's when they do those things, when you start to plant good seeds, because sleep is good for you. Okay, moving on. When the crop began to grow and produce grain, the weeds also grew. The farmer's workers went to him and said, "Sir, the field where you planted that good seed is full of weeds. Where did they come from?" So as you're working on all the good things that you have going on, like for yourself, whether it's spiritually, like inputting good spiritual practices, listening to sermons, or just different podcasts and stuff like that, or nutritionally, if you have a diet going on or some type of regimen that you follow, and also just all those types of things, right? The good habits. And also, before, I didn't add that those things, weeds, can also be environments you may place yourself in, or people you may place yourself around. So as the good things that you have going on are growing, if you don't cast these things down, pray these things off of you, renounce them, denounce them, rebuke them, whatever the case, if you don't do these things, they are going to grow along with the wheat that you have, the good seed. But that is not always a bad thing, because God uses the attacks of the enemy, the bad seeds planted by the enemy, for good. He turns it around for our good. But I'm going to refer back. It says, the field where you planted that good seed is full of weeds. Where did they come from? So like when we feel something is off, when we feel like things may have taken a turn, we're like, what is happening? Like, did I do something? Where did the root of the problem that I'm experiencing, what is the root of this issue? We start to ask ourselves, like, what did I do? What happened? And it could be a number of things that could have happened, or it could just be somebody trying to sabotage you, period. But Either way, whether we experiencing good or bad, God is going to use it for the good. So continuing on, an enemy has done this, the farmer exclaimed. Should we pull out the weeds, they asked. No, he replied. You'll uproot the wheat if you do. Let both grow together until the harvest. Then I will tell the harvesters to sort out the weeds, tie them into bundles, and burn them, and to put the wheat in the barn. Yes, it's another day, but I have to finish this message, and God is so good. So God has a purpose for keeping people that don't mean us good, or people that irritate us or don't give us peace. God has a purpose for keeping them in our lives for whatever time limit that he has to keep them in our lives. Even though they may irritate you, there is a reason for it. And we must learn whatever lessons or things that we need to learn from them, or from their ways or their spirit, that we are going to use, for the purpose that God has called us to. So they said, allow the wheat and the weeds to grow together. So even the weeds we can use for good. And then they said that the weeds that they pull up with the wheat, they're going to tie together and burn it, right? So from the weeds that we can convert into wheat, we take what resonates and leave the rest and tie the rest up and burn it, because we don't need it, but we use it to keep us warm. We used it to, comfort us in some type of way and aid us in some type of way along the journey. But when we don't need it anymore, we don't need it anymore, and we burn it away. Let it go. So what the enemy meant to harm us, to delay us, to sabotage us, actually aligned us to not only help and heal ourselves, but to help and heal other farmers, other people that are like us. And this is another reason why God tells us to, not worry, to have joy, to not really get upset when we're afflicted, when, people are throwing things at us, because that just means that we're doing something right. Okay? And it truthfully means that God trusts us to make the right decisions, even if he may know that we may mess up in some areas. He trusts us to make the right decisions and to handle these challenges and turn it around for the good of not only ourselves, the good of the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven, and also to the good of those that may be not necessarily on the right path, but are trying to better themselves. So I pray that this blessed somebody, okay? Because it blessed me. Y'all have a blessed day.